Have you ever realized that the way that you use your internal voice affects the way that you think and feel? Have you ever noticed that what you tell yourself also affects the way you think and feel? Join me in this episode to figure out how to use your internal voice and dialogue for your benefit. Yep, you heard me right. Master your own internal voice, master your emotions and your thoughts. Welcome to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. This podcast is about helping you to heal, to change, and grow. I once had a client and he was telling me how he had a tape. He had the tape of his own mother's voice, and I believe it was from a radio broadcast. He used to love putting it in and listening to it. When I asked and I tried to understand what was it about this tape that was so special, that he found her voice very soothing, very calming, very comforting. A few episodes ago, we talked about how we experience the world, and we said about the 5 senses that we use in order to come in contact with the world. But then we moved ahead and talked about how we don't only have external awareness of sound, we also have internal awareness of sound. In other words, our own internal voice, our own sounds that we make within our mind, and our own dialogue that we have with ourselves. NLP, Natural Linguistic Programming, breaks down and tries to understand in what ways and in what distinct ways we use our different senses. Like I said, in this episode, we're going to talk about self-talk, so it's more about the sounds. And the certain distinctions that we use to actually characterize the sounds that we're making, the voices that we're hearing within our own minds, and how we process those. We're using certain distinctions that we characterize the voice. We characterize the sounds. For example, we have the direction. Where's that voice coming from? Is it coming from the left, from the right, from the top, from the bottom? Is it clear or is it muddled? Is it muffled up? Are we looping it the same that we, for example, see when we get angry with someone? But we say, yeah, but this person did that. And we say to ourselves about 50,000 times. Then we have like pace. Is it fast? Is it slow? We have volume. Is it loud? Is it soft? How are we using the voice within our mind? What are the certain characteristics that make what we're telling ourselves right now unique? We also have something else called tone. And tone can be about having a high pitch or a low pitch. But for me, tone is very close related to emotions. Are we having a happy tone? Are we having a harsh tone? Are we being polite? Are we being critical? Are we being angry? Tone carries meaning. Not only are we putting meaning behind the tonality of the way we're using the sounds within our own mind and in our dialogue. So it's not only the tone, but it's also the message. And by changing either of the two, we can change the way we use our internal voice, and we can change the way that is affecting the way we feel and the way we think. I can change the tone within my own mind. I can change the way that I speak to myself and also change the message. Ideally, you want to change both, but if you're finding it hard and you're just being stuck, start altering one of the two. And tonality has an emotional charge, and that emotional charge can change the way that you're feeling. And on the other hand, we can see how sometimes we have the opposite effect with ourselves. Or someone else has an opposite effect to us. Someone else speaks harshly to us. Someone else is angry at us and impolite, and it makes us get angry as well. On the other hand, we have our own internal voice. So when we make a mistake, when we fail, we can enter this spiral of negative self-talk that is not empowering us to solve things. It's not empowering us to move forward. It's not empowering us in our day-to-day experience. Instead of saying, for example, oh, that's fine, I've made this mistake, but here's what I learned, we go into a spiral of thinking, stupid, why me? Why this again? Why did this person have to do this thing to me? Why on earth is this happening again and again? And I know, if this person hadn't done this to me, and then we go on and on and on. And then we look back and we begin again, reinforcing the pattern that we just executed, reinforcing those thoughts that actually, in what way, shape, or form are helping us respond to the world, respond to our own internal reality. We have cause and effect, you see. The cause, the kinds of thoughts, the kinds of sounds that we're making within our own minds, and how that is affecting us the way that we feel. And how when we repeat that process, it's like we're putting a kettle and turning it on, having the water to boil, and then wonder why the water is boiling. And then once it goes off, we put it back on, or we make sure we boil the water again, and then again wonder, why is the water boiling? The water is boiling because we keep switching it on. And every time we fire those kinds of thoughts, every time we fire those kind of tonalities to ourselves, it's going to affect the way that we think. It's going to affect the way that we feel. And each thought and emotion brings another thought and emotion that ties into it. When we're meditating and when we're there, we can see how one thought can lead us to another and one emotion can lead us to another. And when you chain that, because it's a chain event, you can start in point A and end up in point Z and wonder, how on earth did you get from A to Z? You can fight all you want, you can ignore it all you want, like those kind of voices that they come, but if you've paid any attention in the past years, you will soon begin to realize that this hasn't ever taken you anywhere or helped you in any way. And the problem lies that we are not aware. We're getting lost. We're getting lost in the message, we're getting lost in the tone that we're using within ourselves. We're getting lost in the sift of our emotions. And once we move into our emotions, once what we say and the tone that we say it sinks in, and we begin to boil, we begin to turmoil, we begin to lose that sense of perspective, we've lost the game. Because then it becomes a little bit too late. It's like you're getting on a roller coaster. The first time, you're just getting into the seat, strapping in, and waiting. Nothing really much happens. Then you might say, okay, I'll go play over there. But then you come back, you sit again in the roller coaster, and you wait. And you do that a few times, and you repeat the same thing. But then at some point, while you're waiting, and you think that nothing is happening from that cause, from that way that we speak to ourselves, then the roller coaster starts. The train starts, and it begins to build momentum. And it goes slowly, slowly, slowly at first. And then it tries to go to a peak. And every time we try to peak, we keep repeating things, we keep saying similar things, but actually our emotional burden begins to grow. And once we peak, well then, there's no longer any control. Then we go into free fall. The earlier we become aware of our voice, the earlier we become aware of how we're using it while we're telling ourselves, realizing and building an awareness of how we speak to ourselves. What kind of tone are we using? What kind of things are we telling ourselves? What is the message that I'm telling myself now? When I'm telling myself, oh, you can't do that, what am I telling myself? I'm projecting to myself insecurity. I'm projecting doubt. And what does that doubt have an effect to do with how I feel? It will soon change my emotional well-being. I can go ahead and respond to that. I can go ahead and fight with that. I can go ahead and just prove it wrong. And in the end, we're just trying to stay safe. So that is the message. But I'm saying I can't do it. But this is something that I really want to go ahead and do. So what can I do? Once you become aware, you can thank yourself. Thank yourself. Thank yourself for noticing. Thank yourself for seeing it for what it is. And the minute we see it, we take a step back. And that is no longer about us thinking that this is our own internal voice, but this is just a narrative. This is just a message that we heard. And then it's to give ourselves a new direction, a new message, or a new tone. Ideally, both. We can speak to ourselves in a positive way and respond to this. You can do this too. I understand that I'm feeling frightened. I understand that you're feeling frightened. But this is something I would really like to do. One thing to remember is like when a thought has passed through, it's like if I take a stone and I throw it through the window, there's nothing on earth that I can do to negate that action. I've smashed the window. The same way with thoughts. Thoughts, emotions, they can in a flash, they can just pass by. And then you're wondering, what just happened? I just listen to what I just said within my own mind. So I've taken a stone, I've smashed the window, and I'm wondering what happened. And then I'm just sitting there, crying over it, beating myself up with it, saying how wrong this was that I broke the window and why should I broke the window. But actually, we had very little control on throwing the stone. But as part of learning, we're smashing windows. We can actually change that. We can say, I just smashed the window. That thought passed by so quickly. There wasn't much I could have done. What can I do to fix it now? How can I fix that window? How can I fix that window? I said something to myself with a tone that was disempowering. Am I going to sit there now and stew over it? Or am I going to do something about it? Am I going to start moving out of this emotional state? So with being aware, we learn about how we're using our internal voice and what messages are we communicating to ourselves. They're both very important. So you will at some point realize the way that you're thinking. Mindfulness helps you a lot with that and what you're feeling. Having that emotional awareness, that emotional intelligence, having an awareness of your thoughts is very important. It can start at the beginning, but you might be midway. The window might be already smashed. To start somewhere, you have to start somewhere. And one of the things that you can start is, what kind of emotions am I getting right now? Am I being anxious? Am I being doubtful? Am I being angry? Am I being insecure? What is it that I'm experiencing right now? That's called identifying the emotional state. That's identifying the emotion. By naming the emotion and saying, this is anxiety, it's not, I'm anxious. Objectify it. Take it outside of yourself. As if you're seeing a car outside of you. You're not the car. When you're outside of it, you're not driving it. You get out of it and you say, this is a car. This is a red car. So this is anxiety. This is doubt. This is anger. Now taking the step back, it pushes you backwards and makes you more objective towards what you're experiencing. What is the message this thing is trying to tell me? What is the message? What is the tone? What kind of things am I telling myself right now that are making me feel like that? Oh, I don't know. It just happened. The window got smashed. Sometimes the conversation keeps going within our own minds. That negative self-talk keeps going. Other times it happened, and then we find ourselves afterwards with a smashed window, glasses everywhere, and wondering, what just happened? Because I don't remember anything. Now the next step is thanking yourself, saying, I'm aware that I'm feeling anxiety right now. This is the kinds of things I've been telling myself. We learn to do these things quicker. Now I'm breaking it down. What kind of emotions would I rather have instead? I'd rather feel happy. I'd rather feel excited. I'd rather feel all right about this. I need some self-love. I need some encouragement. I need some motivation. What is it that I need right now? When I'm being doubtful, I need some support. I need some safety. I need some motivation. While I'm feeling hurt, I need some empathy. I need some closeness. I need some love. And all this kind of emotional states, all that kind of messaging we can actually give to ourselves. All we have to do is understanding how is it that we would speak to someone that we were trying to support? How is it we would speak to someone that we're trying to love? The thing is, if we don't focus on something new and you're only focusing on what is, then we get stuck on that state. We'll get stuck in anxiety. We get stuck into sadness. We have to think, what do I want instead? Yes, we don't have to be Prozac happy all the time, and it's not natural to be in that state. But right now, I would like it if I would feel happier. So that's the emotional state I'm after. What is the tone and the message that I want to give to myself? How can I achieve that? For example, if I want to feel loved right now, what is my loving tone? How can I tell myself that I love myself right now? I'm having a hard time, yes, but how can I love and care for myself? And then it's digging into the message and digging into the voice. Has there been someone I've loved in the past? How did they speak? Look within you or make it up. As long as you use your voice in a positive way, as long as you stop picking positive messages, and then repeat that a few times, until you start to feel that emotional shift. Because that's how we usually get into that anyway. Either something has a big impact on us, or we keep repeating it until we get that emotional impact. To summarize this process, basically we want to guide our consciousness and awareness. We want to be aware of what's going on, thank ourselves. We want to be aware of what is going on within us. What kind of emotions are we getting? What kind of tonality are we using with our minds? And how is that making us feel? I'm going from cause to effect. What kind of thoughts am I having? What kind of emotions am I having? Okay, I'm going to thank myself now for being aware of this. And I'm going to let it go. And then we have to choose the new direction. What kind of other emotions would I rather have instead? And how can I achieve that? What can I tell myself? We can do this quickly. This is analysis. Don't get lost in it. Use this. Train your awareness. Figure out how you're feeling and how you're making yourself feel and think that way. And then change it into a new direction. And something that you want. Use your own internal voice. Speak to yourself in a way and say the things that you really need to hear right now. In conclusion, our voice is powerful, not only when you express it externally, but also internally. By using our voice, by using our sounds within our own minds, we can change our reality. We can change the way we think. We can change the way we feel. Since we have such big power, the power of speaking to ourselves positively, of speaking to others in a positive way, because when we can do it to ourselves, guess what? We can help other people as well. We can speak to them in a different way that it can help adjust and direct the way they're thinking, the way they're feeling. I want you to imagine yourself as if you're a little kid that just fell and scraped your knees. You have a little child there, sobbing, all wounded. Would you run and hit it on its head while it's crying? No. What will we do instead? Because a lot of times, that's what we do with ourselves. Something happens, we feel bad. But then instead of helping ourselves out, we're actually hitting ourselves in the head. What would that child need right now? If it was you, if it was your child, if it was someone else's child, and you were the only one around, what would you try to give to that child? How would you speak to that child? Probably try to console them, give them safety, to give them security. First aid. Give them some certainty that everything's going to be fine, that this is going to pass. These are the kinds of things that we tell our kids all the time. This will pass, this won't hurt, you'll be fine in a little bit. All these things we tell them. We cheer them up. We try to make them laugh. We try to distract them from what is into moving into something else. As my friend Confucius said, the more man meditates upon good thoughts, the better will be his world and the world at large. I'm here to help you heal, change, and grow. If there's something that resonated with you deeply, if it's something that you need help with, give me a shout at podcast@insidetreasures.com. This is the end of season 1. I've really enjoyed the past 15 episodes, and I hope you have too. Going into season 2, the episodes will be far smaller, far shorter, make it easier to consume, digest, and most importantly, to implement in your life. The purpose of this podcast, in general, is to actually implement those ideas. And the more that you get to implement those ideas, the more the episodes are succeeding into what they're intended to do. Please share this podcast with anyone you think may benefit. Until next time, let peace guide your life, love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.